This week's big event is the RAC British Grand Prix, run at Brands Hatch a week ago last Saturday, over 80 laps, that's 212 miles. Pole position and the 100 bottles of champagne as a prize for fastest lap went to Jochen Rindt, who was leading the World Championship at that time by 8 points from Jack Brabham. Jack Brabham, in fact, equalled his lap record. They both did 112.5 miles an hour, and third on the front row was Jackie Ickx in the Ferrari, all well inside the lap record. This was the 7th race of 13 in the series, drivers from 13 countries taking part, and Les Leston was reporting on the troubles in the pits. There, practicing for the British Grand Prix, is Jochen Rindt, fastest in practice, World Championship leader, winner of the last 2 Grand Prix in Holland and France, and of the Monaco race earlier in the year. Some people have thought until the end of last year, or perhaps even till this season, that he lacked the control and judgment to be a consistent winner and a champion. But this year he's begun to prove himself in a way no one can deny. And the new unorthodox Lotus 72, after starting as a bit of a problem child, has also begun to realise the hopes of its designers, especially with its incredible acceleration out of corners, and there are plenty of those here at Brands. From the starting grid there in front of the pits, the start and finish line itself, and then a short straight, and into the difficult downhill right-hand paddock bend, 90 miles an hour in 3rd gear. And then under full power at 110 miles an hour up the hill to the slowest corner, Druids, 2nd gear, 35 miles an hour. And then a fast 3rd gear swoop down to bottom bend, 80 or 90 miles an hour, and then bottom straight about 125 miles an hour and into South Bank. Up a short rise and then down into Pilgrim's Drop, 150 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour through Hawthorne, Portobello Straight about 130 in 4th, then Westfield down into Dingledell 135, up to the slower right-handed Dingledell, very short straight, into the left-handed Stirlings, and then up to 120 miles an hour back into Clearways. Then on to the top straight and back to the start. And we're away! And a great start from the outside by Jackie Ickx, but Brabham, I think, has him. Jochen Rindt getting boxed out a bit by Brabham. And Brabham takes the lead, with Ickx trying to take him up the hill. Ickx powering the Ferrari up on the inside of Druids. Very close. I think they almost touched, but it's Brabham, it's Ickx, it's Ickx. Ickx has got it. Ickx from Belgium with the Italian Ferrari has the lead from Brabham and Rindt and Oliver. And along the bottom straight there, it's Oliver in 4th place, Hulme is 5th, and Regazzoni is 6th with the 2nd Ferrari. Jackie Ickx, very, very determined to get out in front. You saw the way he fought Brabham off at every point. He was going to get out in front to start with, which every driver wants to do. And there he goes at 155 miles an hour down the fastest part of the circuit, 100 miles an hour there through Hawthorne Bend, along the Portobello Straight, down through Westfield, and down into Dingledell, doing about 135 miles an hour, up into the sharp Dingledell corner, so they slow down to about 90, and then into Stirling's Bend, the acute right angle left-hand turn. Right up onto the curve, Brabham right behind him, Rindt is there too in 3rd place, Jackie Ickx from Belgium then leading the British Grand Prix at the end of the first of 80 laps. What a lovely first lap for Ferrari. He's got 1.5 seconds already. Jackie Ickx has got 1.5 seconds over Brabham at the end of the first lap. What a dream start. So at the end of the first lap, it's Ickx, Brabham, Rindt, and up into 4th place now. Quite a surprising position that. At the end of the 4th lap is Jackie Oliver. And behind him is Dennis Hulme, and behind him is Clay Regazzoni. So those are the first 6 at the end of the first lap. Take it a little bit further. In 7th place is Jackie Stewart, and in 8th place is Jean-Pierre Beltoise, the Frenchman in the Matra Simca. And Ickx there, still leading them all. Brabham 2nd, Rindt 3rd, Oliver 4th. Oliver, who knows Brands Hatch like the back of his hand, is ahead of his well, I was going to say team leader. I don't know whether that's officially the position, but Pedro Rodriguez, the fiery Mexican, is usually the front runner on the continental circuits for BRM. And this time it's Oliver on his native Brands Hatch that he knows so well in 4th place, leading the BRM team. So it's the Ferrari out in front of Jackie Hicks. Jack Brabham in his own Brabham Ford in 2nd place. Jochen Rindt, the fastest man in practice, only in 3rd place at the moment. But it's a long way to go. It's a long way to go. And in the pits comes Pedro Rodriguez, the Mexican, BRM's big hope for championship points this year. Rodriguez in the pits already with the BRM. And Rindt pushing his way past Brabham, I think that was. Yes, Rindt pushing his way into 2nd place. Pedro Rodriguez's trouble this time is rear brakes, in fact. Pedro Rodriguez in brake trouble this time. And the leader slowed right up. The Ferraris stopped and Rindt and Brabham have gone through. Rindt and Brabham have taken the lead. As they changed places, they were catching Hicks, who'd slowed right up, and they've taken the lead. So Rindt is now in the lead with Brabham 2nd, and Hicks comes into the back of the pits, which must mean a retirement. He's not allowed to do that. So if he comes in that way, it looks as though he's had it, which is a great shame after such a wonderful start. Great disappointment for Ferrari, for Belgium, for Jackie Hicks. And there was Hulme just ahead there in 4th place, and then Regazzoni, Stewart and Beltoise as close as they've ever been. 5th, 6th and 7th. About 1.3 seconds. Rindt has about 1.3 seconds over Brabham. Final news from the Ferrari pit. They've diagnosed a run gearbox bearing. A gearbox bearing was Hicks' down. And now we've got 24 in the pits. That's the Canadian George Eaton in the BRM, so that's 2 BRMs in trouble. You see number 3, the Ferrari behind it, Jackie Hicks' car behind it, so we've had Rodriguez and Eaton in trouble. Oliver still in 3rd place. And Graham Hill there, closing right up on the tail of Peterson's march. And leaving Gurney, Eamon and Surtees behind just a little bit. Dingle-Dell, Rindt and Brabham, 1st and 2nd on their 31st lap. Rindt from Austria in the Lotus 72, Brabham from Australia in the Brabham BT33, the first monocoque, the first Brabham not to be built as a tubular chassis car for Grand Prix racing. Rindt in the very advanced Lotus 72 with torsion bar suspension, a breakaway from modern practice. And it's still only about half a second at the end of that 31st lap. So Peterson, having been overwhelmed by Graham Hill, is now being challenged by Dan Gurney. And Surtees is there too. Surtees must be pleased because this was the first run for this new car. It had done very little testing before practice here. Graham Hill ahead of that lot, and that's Gurney taking Peterson, I think. Gurney takes Peterson, with Surtees right behind them and Eamon there too, and Graham Hill ahead of them. Rindt definitely drawing away on the fast straight. This new Lotus 72 took a couple of races to get sorted. It's a bit different in design, but it's certainly sorted now. Rindt won the Monaco Grand Prix, of course, with the earlier type of Lotus, the 49C, similar to the one that Graham Hill is driving now, and Fittipaldi. Then the 72 brought him wins in Holland and France. And now here he is, just coming up now to finish halfway. 40 laps coming up any moment now. And there they go, 40 laps completed. So with the British Grand Prix for 1970, organised by the RAC at Brands Hatch, halfway through, we've got Jochen Rindt from Austria with the Lotus 72 in the lead, Jack Brabham with his Brabham Ford in 2nd place,
Jack Oliver with the BRM third, Dennis Hulme's McLaren fourth, Clay Regazzoni Ferrari fifth, Jackie Stewart in the Tyrrell Mart sixth, and Graham Hill and John Surtees fighting like anything for seventh and eighth places. Ninth is Gurney and 10th is Eamon, 11th is Regazzoni and 12th is Fittipaldi, going nicely in his first Grand Prix. It's Pescarolo, that's Pescarolo, Henri Pescarolo, taking his helmet off. He's out of the car. The Matra is wrecked, but Pescarolo is out of the car. So that's a second blow to France, because Beltoise had various troubles and retired with the leading Matra having gone very well. And there's Pescarolo's Matra number 8, badly damaged, but the driver out of it, standing there with the beard, that's Pescarolo. And the race goes on. Eamon now up to 9th, ahead of Gurney, who's 10th. Behind them, Sever and Fittipaldi. And Rindt has just lapped Graham Hill, so that's a bit dodgy there. And Surtees in trouble. Surtees in trouble. As they passed him, he came through the back of the pits. He's had a good run, but he's out. So Rindt and Brabham out on their own, fighting for the lead. And meanwhile, we've got a great fight here between Hill and Eamon. Hill and Eamon. Hill, number 14, ahead, being pushed by Chris Eamon from behind. And they are 7th and 8th. Surtees went out, so they're now fighting for 7th place. They got spread out a bit just now, and now Eamon has caught right up with Graham Hill. And there's Stewart in the pits. Jackie Stewart in the pits. They're changing wheels, apparently. Jackie Stewart with tyre trouble, it would appear, in 6th place. The world champion in trouble in 6th place. And there's Jack Oliver in trouble. Oh, what a shame. Jack Oliver has gone so beautifully in the BRM, in trouble. He's pulled right off the track. While Jackie Stewart in the pits had a puncture, and then apparently it appeared there was some sort of fire. Jack Oliver, what a disappointment. Can you imagine his disappointment? And Eamon having a tremendous go to take 6th place from Hill. It's all happening at once everywhere. Good luck, bad luck, hard drives and drives finished. I wouldn't think there was anybody in the enormous excited crowd round this circuit who'd give a penny for which of these two will win this race. Brabham has shown that he can close right up onto Rindt's tail at various points on the circuit. Rindt has apparently shown that he can hold him off. I would think that it would be very difficult indeed to have a bet on this race, although if one dares stick one's neck out, Rindt does seem to be able to move away every time he's really pushed. And that's Gurney in the pits. Dan Gurney, number 10 in the McLaren, from 7th place in the pits. And there's a car off there at Druids. Afraid I'm not at all sure who that is. And the leaders finishing their 68th lap, Rindt and Brabham. And the car off there was Rodriguez, who hit the back. Rodriguez, who's been Pedro Rodriguez, car number 22, who's been struggling round at the back of the field after his early pit stops, way out of contention, several places back and a lot of laps behind, and he's finally hit the bank, presumably still suffering from brake trouble. That's Rodriguez then into the bank at Druids. And Brabham pressing Rindt again. Brabham staying with him all the way down the straight this time and having a look at the inside at Hawthorne, and he's done it. Brabham's done it. Brabham takes the lead on the 69th lap. And you could just see it all happening, and Rindt must have seen it all happening, and there was absolutely nothing he could do about it. Well, I'm blown. After all this time, it looked as though he could have done it whenever he liked. How fantastic. Now Rindt is really going to have to fight. Now we'll see Rindt whether he can get it back. Can he outdrive Brabham? 69 laps they're completing now. Onto the finishing straight, 69 laps, and Brabham's going quite a way ahead too. The crowd going absolutely mad, the crowd all jumping up and down and waving, and Brabham, now he's done it, has got quite a lead. Now, what do you make of that? Either Brabham has been waiting and could have done it any time and has chosen his moment, or Rindt has suddenly got something off song with the car. One or the other to open out so quickly at that stage. Dennis Hulme, number 9, Clay Regazzoni, number 4, McLaren and Ferrari cars. McLaren with the 8-cylinder Ford engine. Ferguson, Ferrari's going inside. He's done it. He's done it. And he's gone too wide and he's lost it again. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. See his brake lock there, and he overdid it and nearly went off where Rodriguez went, nearly joined Rodriguez and lost it all. Regazzoni doesn't yet understand druids, does he? Brabham's wife, Betty, and his 3 sons will be absolutely delighted to see this. This proof that Brabham is still a very, very hard man to beat. Jack Brabham there, just lapping a slower car, still in the lead, increasing his lead, drawing away from Jochen Rindt. He put up 2 fastest laps, one after the other, just when it suited him to take Rindt a few laps ago. And he hasn't quite broken the lap record. He's done a 1:25.9, which is a 1/10 of a second outside his own lap record from March this year of 25.8. But he's got this race completely in his control in his last 5 laps. That's Dennis Hulme, the 3rd place man, who has been pushed very hard by Regazzoni's Ferrari, but Regazzoni has now dropped back a bit, still in 4th place, but not pushing Hulme. Denny Hulme through Druids, the slowest corner on the circuit. He's been under great pressure from Regazzoni, but the pressure's eased off a bit. Regazzoni seems to have fallen back quite a little bit. Almost the length of the bottom straight. Hulme at south back. And Brabham now has 12 seconds. Brabham now has 12 seconds over Rindt, with Hulme 3rd, Regazzoni 4th, Eamon 5th, and Graham Hill 6th. Hulme has driven a steady race. He's never looked like catching the leaders, but he's held off challenges from Regazzoni and from Jackie Stewart for this 3rd place, and he seems to have got clear of Regazzoni now. They're in the last 4 laps. The race average was nearly 109 miles an hour at 60 laps, when Rindt of course was leading them with Brabham behind him. There was nothing between them. 108.82 miles an hour they averaged. Fastest lap of just about 111 miles an hour by Brabham. There is Hulme, number 9, in 3rd place. Dennis Hulme, 1967 world champion. This year, before this race, he shared 3rd place with Chris Eamon. This will put him ahead of Chris Eamon, of course, because he's 3rd and Eamon is 5th. So he gets 4 points and Eamon gets 2. And there's Jochen Rindt, who led this race so magnificently for so long, holding off apparently everything that Brabham could do. Brabham would close and then drop back a little bit and then close, and then quite suddenly on the 69th lap Brabham just poured past him on the inside at Hawthorne, took him with a couple of very quick laps, almost a record lap, and that left Rindt in 2nd place, and he's now about 12 seconds behind. Whether he's got a problem with the car or whether it's simply that Brabham speeded up tremendously, we don't know. Brabham certainly did speed up, but it was so sudden and so complete it made one wonder whether Rindt suddenly had a problem. He was complaining of the car's handling in practice. It looks a little bit more unsteady now than it was, but we can't say for certain. He's just lapped Ronnie Peterson, who's lying in 9th place after a stop for a puncture. So Jochen Rindt, the Austrian, who leads the World Championship and will still lead the World Championship. If he comes 2nd in this one, he'll have 33 points, and Brabham, if he wins, will have 28. So it's very, very close. And there's Regazzoni, the young Italian-Swiss driver from Lugano, who was number 2 in the Ferrari team, but each dropped out early after leading magnificently at the start with gearbox trouble, and Regazzoni has kept this Ferrari, which he's not been driving long in Formula 1, in 4th place. He had a couple of good attacks on Dennis Hulme, but he never quite made it. Behind him are Chris Eamon and Graham Hill in 5th and 6th places. So Regazzoni already has 3 points from the Dutch Grand Prix, and he'll get 4 points if he comes fourth. No, 3 points again, I beg your pardon, if he comes fourth here again. But this race opens up the championship considerably, because if Jochen Rindt had won, he'd have had a bit of a lead, but now he'd only have about 5 points between him and Brabham, so it's kept this 1970 championship, one of the most closely contended and open for a long time, kept it wide open. Regazzoni there with the Ferrari, coming up to finish his 78th lap. Leaders in the last 2 laps with Brabham, Rindt, Hulme, Regazzoni, Eamon and Hill in the first 6 places, followed by Sever and Fittipaldi. Sever in the second Ken Tyrrell march, Jackie Stewart having gone out first with a puncture and then a fire in the clutch just as he was about to leave the pits, so that car was out. And there's Jack Brabham coming up to start his last lap. Jack Brabham starting his last lap. 3 times British Grand Prix winner, 3 times world champion. In fact, it was in each of his championship years, 59, 60 and 66, that he won the British Grand Prix. Can that be an omen? Can it be that we can say that with Brabham winning his 4th Grand Prix, this could be his 4th championship year, which would put him second to the great Argentinian Fangio, who of course won it 5 times in his extraordinary career. Brabham, who came over from Australia in the late 50s and won the championship twice with the Cooper Climaxes, the first of the rear-engine Grand Prix cars, or middle engine as we call them now, the engine behind the driver. And then in the 60s he started his own Brabham team, won in 1966, the first year of this 3-litre engine formula, and here he is going absolutely superbly up into Dingle Dell corner, well over halfway round the last lap of the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch. In the lead, Jack Brabham, number 17 in the Brabham Ford. And he slowed right up. It couldn't happen again. Brabham's hit trouble right at the last minute. Could it be a tyre? Something there. That car seemed to sort of lurch and bump. Now, can Rindt catch him? Rindt was only about 12 seconds behind. This is fantastic. This is Monaco all over again. And there's Rindt. Would you believe it possible? There's Rindt. It's happened to Brabham again for the 2nd time this year, and with Rindt. What an extraordinary thing. Unbelievable. Rindt wins the race from Brabham on the last corner, exactly as he did at Monte Carlo. And at that time Brabham went off. This time he slowed right up with some sort of drama. And Brabham trying to limp the car over. I wonder what's gone. Could it have run out of petrol, or is there something wrong with a wheel? Yeah, he's just limping over the line. He's still second. Brabham is still second, and there he goes to the line. He's still second. He's made it. History repeats itself. Monte Carlo and then Brands Hatch. Brabham is robbed of the win by Rindt on the last corner. What an incredible thing, and what a tremendous blow and disappointment for Jack Brabham, and what a tremendous thing for Jochen Rindt, who led this race for so long. It really did look like his race from the 7th lap to the 68th lap, and then he gets it back right at the end there. Hulme 3rd, Regazzoni 4th, Eamon 5th, Graham Hill 6th, Sever 7th, Fittipaldi 8th, Peterson 9th and Pete Lovely 10th. What a fantastic thing to happen twice in a year. So that gives Jochen Rindt 36 points of the championship and Brabham 25 points, and it's not quite so open as we thought it might be. Goodness gracious me, and there is a very disappointed Jack Brabham. It ran out of petrol. Isn't that impossible? What a disappointment. So Lotus, the Lotus 72 Ford and Jochen Rindt do it again. 3 Grand Prix in a row, the Dutch, the French and the British, for the Austrian driver Jochen Rindt. After that last-minute win, more drama and tension for Rindt. For 3.5 hours he didn't know whether he'd really won or not. He was disqualified owing to a suspected breach of the rules governing the height of the aerofoils. The team appealed, Rindt's victory was confirmed. An incredible end to a fantastic race.